Welcome to the Birth Boot Camp podcast, your trusted guide on your journey through pregnancy, birth, and beyond. I'm Holly, your host, along with Cheryl, Megan, and Liana that make up the Birth Boot Camp headquarters team. Together, we are here to explore the amazing world of childbirth and family wellness. Each week, we'll dive into empowering conversations with expert guests and share practical insights and heartfelt stories to support you on your unique path to parenthood. Whether you're expecting your first baby, you're a seasoned doula or childbirth educator, or simply curious about the miracle of birth, you're in the right place. Together, we'll celebrate the beauty of birth, honor the strength of motherhood, and embrace the joy of new beginnings. So sit back, relax, and join us on the Birth Boot Camp podcast, where every birth is amazing, every family is supported, and every story matters. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode on the Birth Boot Camp podcast. I'm Holly, the CEO.
I'm Cheryl Ameling, the certification coordinator.
And we are really excited today because we're talking about a topic that we love. We're going to be talking about midwifery care, and we have a special guest today. Her name is Karameli, and she is here in Utah. And we connected because she posted in a really popular Facebook group here called the Utah Birth Forum. And she was like, I want to talk about midwifery care. And I was like, well, let's do it because we'll talk about that all day long if we could. So will you just start and just introduce yourself, where you're from, a little bit about you, and kind of how you got interested in this topic?
With pleasure. Hello, everybody. I am Karameli Thomas. I'm a licensed massage therapist coming up on my 19th year.
Oh, wow.
Located, here in Murray, Utah. I am originally from Hawaii, from the island of Oahu, the town of Kalihi, which I consider the armpit of Oahu.
Okay.
And I've been here for 6 years. And my business focuses on healthcare professionals. And so midwives are the beat of my heart, for sure.
I love that. I don't know that I've ever heard somebody say that was kind of their focus or where they, their clientele. That's genius.
Well, so when I moved here, I knew that I was going to start my business from ground up again. So I had a practice in Sacramento. That's where I was 9 years before moving here. And it was one of those things where I had to really figure out, who is it that makes my heart go pitter patter? Who is it that really keeps my blood pumping? And when you own your own business, you do have the right to work with people you want to work with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Keep it real.
Yeah.
And so I sat and thought, I'm like, okay, who is it that I could relate to? And really it is the caregiver's heart. Growing up, being raised by addicts, you kind of have to grow up quickly. And so I know what it's like to give and give and give and not get anything back in return. But you're, for a higher purpose. And so I started working with nurses, and I dived into understanding the whole anatomy of being a nurse, the compassion fatigue, the burnout. And so the more I delved into it, the more like heartbroken I became. And I was like, oh no, I got to help them. So over time, I did get a lot of referrals through and helping nurses. But then I started realizing that I was getting more referrals just strictly from healthcare practitioners, dentists, someone who is a trauma surgeon, a paramedic, so it was like, okay, this is where I need to be, because I could actually speak and relate to them on a human level. And it's been probably one of the most fulfilling parts of my career in almost 9 years.
That sounds amazing. I love that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I love you guys. We would be missing without you guys. Seriously. And I started thinking about that. I was like, nurses, for example, when you're born, actually you have introduction with them and you're around them for about 18 years of your life, at least. If you're born in a hospital, who's the one that's touching you? If you're injured, anytime you need any help when it comes to the hospital, that's the first people that you see. And so I wanted to be able to just give back to the community in that way and keep them healthy enough to keep doing what they're doing. Because without the healthcare practitioners of the world, our community would suffer. And I think history shows that.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. You just made my heart go pitter patter. That was just beautiful. Okay, so tell us, like, how did midwifery care come into your life? How was that? How was that a thing?
Okay, I love this story or this question. Okay, so first of all, when I was not practicing, when I was getting my massage diploma in Oahu at Remington College, one of my instructors was a midwife and she was a doula. So when it came to doing pregnancy massage, that woman did not play. It was about positioning. It was about certain areas, contraindications, but just truly understanding a pregnant woman. And because of that instructor, in the early stages of my career, just year one, I was able to help so many pregnant women because I understood that. So that was the very first seed that was planted. Then I was working for a mom pop company in Maui, and the woman who worked up front, she had a midwife. And I was like, what is this midwife stuff? Because I never really asked my instructor. I was just like, okay, this is what we got to do. This is what I got to do. And so she kind of introduced me to it a little bit. And then fast forward, I finally got pregnant. And I was kind of looking into it. I was very, very drawn to it. But my experience with that company wasn't the best. It was, I can't even explain it. I was trying to let them know that I wanted to go this route, but number one, they were telling me, the finance aspect, really, really stern about that, which I get, right, as service providers. But it was like they weren't really encouraging me to be curious about it. It was such a cold exchange, so to speak. But luckily that didn't deter me. Okay. I still was looking for something. And then I got medical and I was in the traditional healthcare system, and fire trucking sucked, to be honest with you. Okay. Again, here I was asking questions because now I'm pregnant. I have questions, and they literally made me feel like an idiot for even asking. Oh, don't worry about that. Don't do this. Don't. It was a lot of don't. Yeah. Not to mention waiting for the appointment to get in, not to mention waiting 45, and I timed it, 45 minutes to an hour. When I got there 5 minutes early, just to be seen for 15 minutes, in and out. They weren't necessarily engaged in just the aspect of the fact that I had a ruptured ectopic pregnancy a year and a half ago. Gosh, and having that fear, you know what I'm saying? So me wanting to ask questions, I knew that I would be a good client, so to speak, but I needed my questions answered, and it just wasn't happening. So because in the background, I was doing a lot of research, I ended up meeting someone who was a doula. I was like, well, if I can't afford a midwife, looks like going the doula route would be more affordable. Sitting and having conversations with her, come to find out she was connected with this community midwife. And so that's how I got connected with her. And I reached out to her, talked to her, and she was just perfect, 100% human, totally willing to work with us. And I had never experienced or even knew it was possible to be cared for at home, which again is really odd because history will show you there wasn't no hospitals back in the day. They came to you, right? So that was my true, very, very first experience. And I love that woman till this day. Then we decided to make the move here to Utah. And she said, don't worry about it. I actually went to school there. I got some education there, and I still have connections. And so she connected me with my midwives today. And that was 6 years ago. So that's my long answer.
Wow.
I love it.
Yeah.
That was a great answer.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see how you go from, like the beginning, that first touch point to now. I think that's, like you said, it's like just little seeds planted in the beginning. And I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Utah here, we have a really great birth community here. We have like every option available, and just, so this is if you're going to end up somewhere, then you need to give birth. Utah's kind of a really great place to do it. So,
Amen.
yeah.
Awesome. So how many children do you have?
I have 3 and they're all boys.
Oh boy, mom.
Fun. Yep.
I love
Boys
that.
are fun.
So did you have home births with all 3 of them? Or tell us kind of your birth story.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay. I'm excited. So of course had midwives for all 3 pregnancies. The very first one, and I will say this, y'all, I was driven with anxiety, and a lot of it had to do with one of my roommates at the time. We'll get into that if you even really want to. But I really feel like that played a part in stalling my birth, or my labor. So the first birth, he was, the due date, and he was about a week overdue. And then he took a dump in there. Okay. And then I wasn't contracting. And then I had to get an emergency C-section. But I felt good about that choice because I had my midwives to help educate me through that.
Yep.
And because of that experience, I will be honest with you guys, I really felt cheated. I really felt like I missed out on something that I took my time to understand. And I was so excited to have a natural birth. Because I was told I was built for it, right? And so here I thought that was taken away from me. So I was 1,000,000,000% determined to have a natural birth the second, which I did in 2020. Now, listeners and y'all, listen to me here. I can't even tell you how wonderful it was to be a midwifery client at that time in 2020, because we all know what happened, okay? Yep. And I kept hearing left and right throughout my pregnancy where people were giving birth, talking about their husbands couldn't be in there with them. You got to do this, you can't do, you got to be all by yourself. And guess where I was? I was in a wonderful, comfortable, beautiful birth center in Layton on a queen size Tempur-Pedic bed with a beautiful big giant tub and 3 amazing midwives that stood with me for 24 hours. Okay. Yep. So that was a birth center birth. And then this last one, I just gave birth in November on the 8th here, home, right here on my living room floor. Yes, wow. I did. Okay.
I love it.
Love it.
And that's how they all came about. But all of that was because I had my team of midwives.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I love how you said, like, you still, even though your first you did need the C-section, you still had their support, and you still, so they're probably, and maybe you can tell me kind of your thoughts about this, but do you feel like maybe there was less trauma because of that? Because somebody who goes into that with no support might be more traumatized by an experience like that than if, like you had the support and you kind of understood, what happened because you also prepared and educated yourself.
100%.
Yeah, I think that's so important, is that education and then the support that you have. So, yeah.
Well, let's just talk about like how the brain works, right? If the brain doesn't have answers, it's going to make up answers. And a lot of those answers are horrible. Okay.
Yeah. Well, because it's what our society wants us to think, right? Because when we're not preparing and educating ourselves, we're just thinking about what we see on social media and TV. And those things do not look good.
Yeah. And Dr. Google and Uncle Google, like,
yeah, that's a really great point.
Algorithm. Oh my gosh.
That's a really great point. The algorithm. Yeah. So like, how do you describe midwifery care to other people? Like, how do you, like, this is something that you're really passionate about. What aspect of it, or how do you describe it to other people, or how do you present it to, maybe a friend that is pregnant, or a client, massage client that's pregnant or something?
The first thing I like to do, I like to think very simple, right? And so I introduce it in the aspect of back in the day, right? So I am actually half Polynesian. My mom is Samoan. And when you come from a Polynesian background, you understand that a village is everything. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I explained to them in a sense of, this is how it used to be. This ain't nothing new. Okay. I mean, this is just exactly how it should be. And when you are a client of midwifery, being cared for is 100% a priority.
Mm-hmm.
I also like to share with them the financial aspect. By the way, it's definitely a lot more affordable to have a midwife and give birth at home. Or, you don't have to. And some are like, I don't want to give birth at home. And that's fine. You don't have to do that either. So it's really about sharing the few key things that I really love about it and waiting for them to ask questions and then being able to answer it that way, just from my own experience. Because I have truth Tourette's, so I don't mind telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it ain't pretty, it ain't nice, but it is the truth. And I'm more than willing to educate people based on my experience. And that's really what I lead with. It's about care being a 100% priority, not just the baby, but also you as the mother. And having home visits is amazing because it includes the family. So now this midwife becomes a part of your family. Again, financial and just again, it's like this is how it was. This is the way I think it should be, but it's kind of how it always was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love that. After I had my first baby, like I wanted, because I had such a great experience. I had a midwife, had a home birth, and I was like I wanted every woman to feel the way I was made to feel during my births, because like we're worth that. It's more than just getting a baby out of our body. It's a whole spiritual, physical, mental experience. And I love the way midwifery care like holds all of those. It's not just about your cervix opening and getting a baby out. It's about how you feel about it. It's about the environment. It's about the people that are there. It's about the affirmations and the washcloths and the pool, and like
Everything.
it's everything. It's a whole. It's an entire package that they understand, and they understand how that works. And we are valued in that space. Like, it's not just the baby or not just my body. It's all of me. And I wanted every woman, I still do. I want every woman to feel that loved and cared for and valued in that space, because
Same.
Yep. I just had this thought too while you guys were talking. I'm like, imagine if every woman had care like that. Like, I think we would come out of birth so much stronger. And I'm like, think of like the
Disneyland.
Right? Like, I'm like, think of like how amazing this world could be if all of these women came out of their birth experience feeling amazing and just feeling like look what I just did. Like, I'm freaking awesome. Like,
right?
How different could this world be if every woman felt that way when she give birth? Like, that just kind of gave me shivers, like chills while you guys were talking. I'm like,
because it's true.
Right.
It is 100% true. If you guys have ever experienced, and I feel like it because you've been doing it for a while, where you may have met a client who did it the traditional way and now they're seeking your services. And to really see in their eyes that they have suffered a little bit, and how much of a relief it is to sit and speak with a human, treating you as a human and empowering you. That, look, I'm getting chicken skin right now. Okay. That truly, to me, is the magic sauce of midwifery. Is empowering us. That's why you guys are so important to me. So if I could really sum everything up in explaining something to a client and how powerful it is to have a midwife on your team, it's the true essence of empowerment.
Yeah. I felt so powerful in those moments. All of my babies, and thinking, like Holly said, like, I did that. I did this really hard, amazing thing. And I was so incredibly powerful in those moments. A power that I didn't even know that I had. And
That part. Mm-hmm.
yet I did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and it's life changing, and that's what I tell people. Like with my story, I had my first, and like my life completely changed. I changed my career paths. It even changed my husband, like what he wanted to go into. So it was like this one single day or one single day in your life when you give birth, like it really will change you forever. Maybe not as drastically as kind of like what I did and what I experienced, but like it kind of birthed a new me. And I think that we don't give birth the credit that it deserves as far as how important that day is. And so I really like to pull it back to like the day you give birth will change you. It will affect you in so many ways. Um, so I think when we can make that a really positive experience, and it's like we understand that like there are times when interventions are needed, like you experienced a C-section, like things like that. But when we can do everything possible to prepare to hopefully maybe prevent those things, like if they do happen though, it's not as traumatic. It's okay, kind of like what we were saying.
Yeah.
So the education that you guys offer your clients, your field, the education that you offer, in my experiences, has made all the difference. It's important for people to understand how something works or how it'll affect them and what their options are. And that's what I realized is not welcome in, again, this is just my experience. It's not welcome in the traditional healthcare. You're not welcome to be curious. You're not welcome to ask stupid questions. Listen, I'm the queen of stupid questions. I'm serious. To have access to my midwife, if a stupid question popped up, I would text her, "Hey, stupid question." And she would, not a stupid question. And she would give
Exactly.
me the answer.
I was just about to say,
And if
like,
she
all
didn't,
of my clients ask me questions, and I'm like, there's no stupid questions at birth.
very true. But I like to call them stupid questions because it takes down a guard. And I always get intelligent answers when I ask stupid questions.
I like that. That's a good way to look at it.
So being able to have access at that point, and if she didn't know the answer, guess what? She would find it for me.
Yep.
Yeah. I love that. So tell us about like your postpartum experience. Like, how did that, like being with a midwife, how were your postpartum? So you're kind of still in postpartum because you just had a baby. So how did that play out with your midwife? What kind of support have you gotten?
Can I just say that the C-section experience sucked? Okay, like healing from it. I was itchy because of I guess it was the anesthesia.
The medication. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was itchy. I was in pain. I didn't want to laugh. I didn't want to cough. I didn't want to sneeze. I didn't want to fart. I didn't want to do anything. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I got to feed this baby. And I wasn't really in like the right headspace in terms of my living situation. But I constantly got support from my midwives, just checking in. They brought me food, which I was afraid to eat, but I ate it anyway. And then fast forward to these two birth experiences and postpartum, I believe in placenta pills. Like I would never save it, cut it up, and put it in a smoothie. I know people do that. I just don't do that. But I understood that having access to my placenta pills would definitely assist me in my healing, and that was really important. My midwives were on my butt the entire time through, especially the first 6 weeks. How are you doing? What are you doing? How are you feeling? Really just checking in with me. And so I always had the freedom of being able to share what's going through my mind. Luckily, what I've experienced in having a vaginal birth versus being cut, I'm up and at it like right after, you know what I mean? And not afraid to move around or be myself, or especially the just giving birth at home. I mean, this is your house, right? So where's the robes? Where's that one dress that I only wear when I feel fat? You know what I'm saying? Where's the house slippers? Give me my snack. I know where I could walk around here in the dark. You know what I'm saying? This is my home. So in regards to postpartum care, I mean, amazing. I don't know what else to say other than
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was because I only had midwifery care. And so when I learned that, kind of in the traditional medical system, women don't get postpartum care. And I was like horrified because, like I just, it flowed so naturally from the prenatal appointments to my amazing births with the support in postpartum. And I needed as much, if not more, support during postpartum than I needed during prenatal visits. And my birth was 12 hours. Postpartum lasts a lot longer than that. And so, like, I love that continuity that midwifery care really gives through each stage, because they're all different, they're all equally important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
with mine that were
absolutely.
born in the hospital, it was like one, maybe two visits if you're lucky postpartum. Like
Mhm.
nothing.
Yeah, no, there's still a, like you said, Cheryl, the flow. There's still a flow. And because my midwives know me, um, literally, they know my blood type, okay?
Right.
Um, they know that I am half hippie. I'm hippie at heart. And so I want anything that comes from the earth first. Okay, so homeopathic remedies, tinctures, they were all about that. And they supported me and they understood that and they made sure that they were accommodating to that. And
Mhm.
that was another thing that played a role as well. I wish I knew what it was, and some of them taste horrible, but I know if it works, I'm gonna take it. And after birth, especially this past time, the uterus is still like sort of contracting because it's trying to
Mhm.
get back to its normal size. And they had this one tincture, put it under my tongue, and it eased the pain.
Oh,
And
Mm-hmm.
so
The
we're
after
sitting
pains.
here and we're sitting
Yep.
here and we're talking about the birth, laughing because it was hilarious at some points. And then I started cramping again, and I was taking a deep breath. And right when I opened my eyes, my doula, her daughter, was on her way to drop more into. So they're still watching.
mhm.
You get what I'm saying? It's like,
Yep.
Yeah.
talk about the flow, talk about personal care, talk about y'all are on the clock like always.
Mm-hmm.
And so to be treated like that and to be cared for, listen, they even brought me some oracle cards. Okay, like
Well,
where else
because they
can you
get
get
to know you and they really
Yeah.
do. They understand like what makes you tick and what's important to
Mhm.
you. And yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the type of relationship. Like, who wouldn't want that during their pregnancy and postpartum?
Right.
Like, it drives me nuts that like the standard is, oh, you just got to go find an OB, and so people just pick the closest, name on the list from their insurance company. And I'm like, again, this is supposed to be like the best day of your life. Like, wouldn't you think it'd be worth it to like find somebody you really think will take care of you on that day? Like, spend some time like interviewing them.
Yeah.
But that's not how our system is set up. Which
Yeah.
is sad.
I think women don't even know that that's an option,
Most
that,
don't.
that
Right.
you can do that.
and
Right.
that's the point. And that's why I feel so strongly about my voice, my face. Okay, because for some odd reason, it's not very usual. My sister-in-law was a NICU nurse for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so she did not really have the most encouraging or positive feedback. And I say that because it was her experience, right? She was in a position of only seeing the bad.
Right.
And
Yep.
I couldn't, I didn't want that to sink in 100% because it wasn't my experience. And so people just don't know that it's an option. And if it is offered as an option, sometimes you have people really kind of jabbing you and stabbing you and telling you that's not the way to
Mm-hmm.
go because I heard, fill in the
Mhm.
blank
Right.
here and there. But if you don't know that it's an option and if you don't have a very reliable source, you will continue to believe, I hate to say it, but you will continue to believe that lie. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Not every birth is going to be the same, right? And as you guys just found out, my first was probably the most traumatic, and it wasn't the same. Sometimes, like you said, interventions do need to happen, but the most important thing about the essence of midwifery is the empowerment, is the education, is the support. And that's what people, I think, really, really need to know and understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm like, that's like sums it up all right there.
I
Like,
know.
that's great. Yeah. And I think like, and that's why we have our podcast. That's why we, talk about it on social media and all that stuff, is like, new parents, expecting parents need to know this. And so it's like we're trying to like use all the different avenues to, try to reach more of them. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I love that it includes the family.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. Your birth is, it's welcome in midwifery, in that philosophy that I have of it takes a village. For example, including the father, really, in conversations, getting to know him as well. My midwife and my man be joking about things that I'm like, really? Seriously? And it was so funny because that was even happening during my labor, that I fell asleep. And apparently I didn't realize, I thought I took a nap, but I just like went to sleep. And because I'm home and because I have a team that I trust, I just kind of clocked out. I was like, my body needs to do something, so I'm gonna let it do it, and I'm gonna take a nap. And my midwife was like, that was great, but it was kind of hard to kind of gauge things.
Right.
And then, while I was giving birth, my two oldest, which are 6 and 3, they were taking a nap. So right when their brother got here, we got him to, well, he wasn't even crying. He was just kind of doing his own thing. His baby is a whole other person. But right when they got up from a nap, their brother was here.
Yeah.
And they're roaming around here in their little underwear, just hanging. Hey, hi, Auntie. Hi, everybody. And it was like, it's one of those things again, like how can people not know that this is an option?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, same. Absolutely. Well, is there anything else you can think of that you'd want to share about midwifery care, or
resources that you've liked over the years or anything?
I wanted to definitely share about VBACs, right?
Yes.
Because that's me. Too, right? When like I had shared, I felt like I was getting like I missed out on an initiation that I saved up for and wasn't privy to because of my C-section. I would like for listeners to do their research, to be completely honest. C-sections are surgery.
And major surgery.
It's a major surgery. And I have heard several times, even from my sister-in-law, who's a NICU nurse, she has 6 kids. And she would say that even though she knew her body, she knew what it was doing, they were constantly trying to tell her to get a C-section. Okay? I don't know what the money grab is because I'm not in the business like that, but I just know that I didn't want that to happen again. I know that I felt I was entitled. I'm like, I'm entitled to have a vaginal birth because that's what it's there for. But I educated myself when it came to C-sections and why they encourage them so much in the hospitals. One, for my own personal, and second, my midwives made sure that I was educated about VBACs as well. She recommended me to take an online course. And she was like, I'm just going to send this to you because it sounds like you need it. But to be quite honest, after witnessing you and being around you and learning you, I definitely know that you can do it. And that seed, she just kept planting the seed, like, don't worry about it. Your body will do, you got to trust the process. There are certain things that she would tell me, which would kind of calm that anxiety down. And it was built, so it was calming the anxiety down, but it was building me up at the same time. obviously, if you have to have a C-section, of course.
Right.
But it's also, again, it's about the education behind it. If I were contracting and if I were in a better headspace emotionally, I truly feel that I could have um, had a vaginal birth the first time in a home birth or a birth center birth. But because of all of that, it stopped me. I feel like it stopped me. So then I educated myself and my midwives encouraged it. Um, so that's one thing that I wanted to share for sure very strongly about.
Mhm.
And then the other thing
Mhm.
too is um, the that thought just slipped my mind. Definitely the empowerment aspect, but oh, I'll just tell you guys really quickly. Through both of my labors, especially the first one, um, they had shared. Okay, sorry. Second birth, home birth. I'm sorry. In the birth center, I was contracting, but I wasn't really contracting. They weren't strong enough. It wasn't really doing
Mhm.
anything. So we did
Mhm.
a lot of interventions, homeopathic, alternative, right? So it was like breast pumping. It was taking these horrible tinctures, and I was still taking homeopathic remedies, lots of movement, all these things. And then at one point, they called in a foot zoner.
Hmm.
So this is where it starts to get really, really fun. So they
Mhm.
call in a foot zoner. The foot zoner comes in. She gives me a treatment and she says, you're going to be doing a meditation on releasing fear while I'm working on you. I don't know this woman. I don't know where this woman is till this day. Okay. I'm just saying that to set the stage here. I did not know her personally.
Okay.
So after the treatment, she says, your body is not progressing because you're not allowing it to. There are some old fears that are coming and are playing in your head that's preventing you from opening up practically. So my instant feeling was anger. I was like, who is this woman? How dare she tell
Mhm.
me that? How dare she tells me that? And then in a split second, I said, wait a minute. She said, I'm not progressing because I'm not allowing myself. So if that's true, if I allow myself, does that mean this could happen?
Mhm.
Honey, 20 minutes after that lady walked out the door, it was a bloody show. And then my labor started to progress. And so the
Mhm.
other thing that I wanted to share was when you have a midwife and you have that kind of care, you're constantly being encouraged to know that it is within you. Um, that's what they allowed me to do because I had all these mental fears and mental blocks. When you understand that your mind, your body, and your spirit need to align to allow to introduce this human to the world, it makes the transition so much easier.
Oh,
So I can't even say anything else
Mhm.
other than midwives are amazing.
Yeah.
I
That's
love
beautiful.
it.
I love that. That's so
I
great.
love it. I'm like getting whiplash over here, like nodding. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Bobblehead.
I think that's a great way to finish it up.
Mm.
I love kind of how you finish that. So that's awesome. We are so grateful that you were
Yeah.
willing to come on here and share your story. And yeah, we are big, huge proponents of midwifery care all the time. So
Mhm.
um and surprisingly, we hadn't really done an episode on it, which I'm like, what were we thinking? So I'm glad that you said something.
Yeah.
Um yeah. So real quick, do you have like a website or Instagram where people can find you or if they want to follow you or anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. So, the website you can learn about our massage services is you have to do the www dot themassager.com. We also are on Instagram at the massage er, and my own personal page is Honest Massage Therapist. And yeah, we're also on Facebook. So
Cool.
I mean, if you Google us, you can find everything else out.
We'll find you.
Find all the
Awesome.
things.
Okay,
Awesome.
well, this was a great episode. I'm excited for this one. So if you are listening, feel free to leave a review, tell us what you loved or what you learned about midwifery care, and stay tuned, and we'll talk to you next week.